The biggest problem every learner faces is having conversation in a language they are learning about. Not to speak, having conversation with a native speaker. In our case, the question is of course language English. And I admit this reality that most of the people are afraid of speaking in English. They get scared by making mistakes, being misunderstood, mispronounced words, and eventually make fun of themselves. This is the reality. And of course, there are some persons who don't have the experience. But having conversation in a language which you are learning is very much fundamental to have confidence building in your conversational skills. And here I confess that some of the learners ignore or either miss this very important part of English language learning. And this is not a new method, but it's also not a very easy method. And I admit that this method, this technology, and this technique helped me not only to understand the literary language, but also the real life English. Yes, I am talking about listening. As I have earlier said, this is not a new thing, but it's not an easiest one. Let me explain with another perspective and with little bit depth. Without any doubt, listening makes the biggest difference. You might think that reading and speaking are also important. Yes, they are important. But as far as listening is concerned, listening is heavy, massive input, and it makes you understand which you don't know before. It makes you catch the words you couldn't catch before. It makes you remember a little more. Yes, I admit that it's tiring for your brain to be focused and fully engaged in the listening process, and then to figure out what kind of information it has to memorize and stored in the brain, and what kind of information it has to delete from the brain. It's a very tiring process for the brain. But I used to listening with high dedicated hours to listening. And after regular practice of listening, you will come across the language patterns. For example, what kind of words and what kind of phrases you have to use in which kind of context or situation, because you are used to that process. This is the benefit of listening. And some might say that, some may ask question, any other method to improve your English language learning, and how we can improve in a simple method. But tell me one thing, and let me know you one thing, that this your fruit, and this your effort, and this your high dedicated time will bear you fruit. But as it is very tiring for your tiny brain, for your brain to be fully focused and fully engrossed in the process, you have to search for the material, for the videos on YouTube in which you are curious about, in which you are interested about, because your brain is already doing a lot to listening. As far as I am concerned, to be very precise, in the beginning it felt to me to leak through my ears, because it was so overwhelmed. Yes, dear audience, I admit this fact. But you have to choose the videos in which you are interested. For example, if you are interested in games, you can choose the videos of games. If you are interested in reading, you can choose the videos of reading. If you are interested in weather, you can choose the videos of climate. If you are interested in geography, you can choose the videos of geography. Because choosing and being curious about the context will make your brain be interested in that material. I did this in my home country where no one speaks English around me, with my high dedicated hours to listening. And then, after a short period of time, you need not to be hyper focused. And then magic happens. What happens? Magic happens. The knowledge you have gained, the material you have gained, the words, the phrases, all of a sudden come into existence during your conversation. Yes, you know where to use the word, how to use the word, how to understand the other person. These are all called preparation. Because you can't go into a foreign language discussion or conversation without prior preparation. If you do that, you make fool of yourself. And remember one thing, that the best conversational partners are best listeners. If you listen a lot, you will be a best conversational partner. Ask questions. People love to answer the questions. And I have spilled the beans here. Let me know in the comment section, do you agree with this or not? Because ultimately, listening cannot be ignored, cannot be overwhelmed, cannot be overlooked, because it's the most important part of English language. Because when you come across a native speaker or when you indulge yourself in a conversation, you need to use the patterns of language. And how you can understand the patterns of language? By listening, by engaging your brain in the conversation. And in this way, the patterns, the natural patterns, the words, the phrases, how to use the words, where to use the words, how can you understand the other person, all these things come into existence in your mind, and your mind becomes so confident in a conversation. Till the next video, stay happy, stay blessed. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.